When it comes to avoiding meal prep disasters, be a Boy Scout. Be a Boy Scout. What the heck is this guy talking about? Yes. What's the main creed of the Boy Scouts? Be prepared. Preparation will keep you from a myriad of disaster scenarios. And I'm pretty sure I've tried all of those disasters, and they're best avoided. So be prepared. Let's get into it. I'm going to show you how with 3 easy steps. So the very first thing you need to do, step 1, is figure out what it is you want to eat. Now, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but what I like to do is figure out, what do I want to cook with? Well, for me, that's easy. If I have the choice, I'm going to use my Instapot or my Instant Pot for those of you who are perfectionists. I use my Instapot almost all the time. So I start by figuring out what I want to eat, and then I search online to find the recipe that works for me. So, for example, let's say I want white chicken chili. I look up Instapot white chicken chili, and then I go through the recipes to find the one I like, the one that looks like it's going to be the best or meets the dietary requirements I have. There's a lot of recipes out there that have a lot of sugar. I'm trying to lose weight. I don't want those. There's a lot of recipes out there that use ingredients that I don't like, or Kathy doesn't like, or somebody else in the family that's going to be eating this can't eat. And so I avoid those. There are a million recipes. You can find the things that work for you. And then I need to make sure it's going to fit in with my plan. So as I said, I'm working right now to lose weight. I've used meal prep in the past to have better athletic performance. You can lose weight, or you could use meal prep to put on weight or put on muscle. You can use it for a variety of reasons. But for me right now, it's really important as I am losing weight, not trying. Try is the battle cry of the loser. We don't want that. As I am losing weight, it's really important that I hit specific macros throughout the day. And because what we're talking about right now with white chicken chili is the main meal that I will have that day, whether I have it for dinner or whether I have it for lunch, I can build my whole day around that. But to do that, I need to know the macros. So how the heck do you do that? That just sounds like a horrible exercise and a lot of work. Really, it's not. And I'm going to show you how by using a tool called MyFitnessPal. Now, there's a lot of apps out here, but let me show you how easy this is in MyFitnessPal. So as I come down here, you'll see in the food tab, there's a recipe tab. So I'm going to go to that recipe tab. And then there are 2 things that I could do. Number 1, I could add all of the ingredients one at a time and how much, what the quantity is and what the ingredient is. Or if I'm using a recipe like my tried and true white chicken chili recipe, all I have to do is put it in this bar and import the recipe. And through the magic of whatever happens in the interweb net thingamajigger, it comes back with all the ingredients and how much of each ingredient there is. Now, please remember that you want to check this one time, because once it's in here, it's going to be in there. And as long as you don't change the recipe, this is the simplest thing in the world to use to track or to plan your food. But the first time, you want to make sure things are correct. So you want to make sure that everything is right here. Now, I personally use 3 large chicken breasts in mine instead of 2 because I want more protein. So I'm going to do that right now. And then everything else looks good. And then you just go down to match ingredients. Now, you want to remember again that like Wikipedia, which is not always right, this is a user-created database of foods and macros. So the first time you put a recipe in, you want to spend a little bit of time making sure that it's actually correct, okay? So 3,877 calories for one meal. You got to remember the number of servings. And this particular one is 8 servings. So I'm going to pop that in there. And we're going to find that it's a much better 484 calories. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here. I'm not going to do it. This is what you would do, is go down and make sure that these numbers look accurate. Okay. Because you can go and you can edit the quantity, you can replace it with something else, or you can remove it. So let's say you really want to be accurate and you're using Great Harvest beans, then you can go and replace this. You can look up the exact brand you're using. Voila, all done. If you're just a little bit more generic, then you could use the one that comes up. But just make sure it looks right, because again, sometimes you'll have something where it shows that an egg has 100 grams of protein, and we all know it's really 6. Okay. But if that looks good, then I'm going to save it and log it. What that means is it's going under today, and I'm feeling contrarian today, so I'm going to have it for breakfast. Not really, but for you guys, we'll say it's for breakfast. And I know a serving is 1 cup. Now, let's say that that 460 calories isn't enough for your main meal, and maybe you need closer to 600 to 700 calories for your main meal. Then you can have 1.5 cups, and you can change that right over here in the quantity. But we're just going to put 1 cup in for now and see how that comes out. So it's going to come over to today, and there it is. Voila, 450. Oh, look who's getting old. All right, let's put the cheaters in it. 451 calories, 35 grams of carb, 18 grams of fat, 36 grams of protein. I'm still going to want to up that just a little bit. So I'm going to go back in. If I was going to use this, I already have one entered with my specifics, and I'll probably enter the number of pounds of chicken so that I can get it where I want it to be. And I can see 10 grams of fiber. Now, if I want more fiber, I could add some more beans. I could add different veggies. There are a lot of different things I could do to mess with this recipe to get it exactly the way I want it. And you do this all right here, and most of the work is done for you. And once you're done, it's there. So every time I want to go in and add, I can go in here, and under recent, I just click, boom, and I'm having white chicken chili twice. See how easy that is? Once you know what you're eating, it's all right there. So if you're doing this to make gains in the gym, you have very specific macros you have to hit. If you're trying to lose weight, you have very specific macros you have to hit. Okay? So that's one way to do it. The second way, I'm going to go down to dinner because I had this in mind yesterday. So all I have to do is I can go into dinner, and I can add the things that I want to use. So I had 1 cup of chicken breast, 1 cup of white rice. There we go. The roasted vegetable mix. That's what I made yesterday in episode 11. Yes, we're still in season 1. Episode 11 of the Simple Meal Prep show. We made this absolutely delicious rice, chicken, and mixed vegetables. And I'm making more of it yet today because we really liked it and realized I needed some more. So I can go in and just click those things or add them, put them in, and then I can see what my meal is going to have for the macros, because that's part of being prepared. Because if you're making meals that throw you off your plan, that's not going to help much. And look, I added everything twice somehow, as if by magic. So we'll have to go through and get rid of those things. Perfection is not necessary, but you see how easy this is to edit and to change. And now I know that meal, this main meal, would be 600 calories, 92 grams of carbs, 11 grams of fat, 47, much closer to what I want to be, grams of protein, and only 7 grams of fiber. So going forward, I'm going to work on looking at how I can increase the fiber content of this meal, because I want more fiber in my main meal than just 7 grams. Okay. So that's how you use this to prepare what you're eating to make it work for your plan. The next thing is really important, and that is step number 2 is you want to make sure you have an ingredient list. Now, if you're using a recipe on a website, it will typically have an ingredient list. If not, you're going to want to write down, like if ChatGPT tells you, you need to copy paste it or write it down so that you know exactly what you need. Because one of the most frustrating things when you're in the middle of cooking is to realize that you're 2 steps away from finishing this. You really can't stop it because it's heated up and you're ready to go and you're missing something that's really crucial. So I have a 3-step process. I make an ingredient list. I give it to Kathy, who contacts the store and has them get it ready. She brings it in, checks to make sure I have it, and then I check it again before I make my meals. Because, well, yes, you can tell this is something that I've had an issue with time after time in my early going. The last thing, And this is one that I have a problem with. Maybe it's not your issue, but a lot of times when you're cooking something, if you're just following line by line and you haven't really taken a good look at the recipe, and again, this isn't if it's your first time. I can make white chicken chili in my sleep. I know exactly what to do in what order, not a problem. But in some recipes, you'll be going along and it's like, and sweet potatoes diced, and close the lid and go. Well, I don't know about you, but it takes me a while to cut those cement blocks into cubes. And so it really helps to look at the recipe and see, because sometimes you may add things in a specific order, but that may not be the order that you prep them. So for example, besides cement block sweet potatoes, yesterday on episode 11, not season 11, when we made our rice, chicken, and roasted vegetables, the roasted vegetables, I had to put 2 different trays in because they were 2 different temperatures at 400 or 450 degrees, and times that ranged from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. So that was the longest thing that had to cook. So I had to prep accordingly. So all the vegetables got cut up front and we started roasting. And I actually had to roast them, pull them out, add the next vegetables, put them in, then let them go, and then put in the next tray, which thankfully were about the same time. Now, it all came out great, but it wouldn't have if I would have gone and done my chicken, done my rice, and then gone, well, we'll throw in the vegetables now, and we would have not had a hot meal at the end. So once the vegetables were going, I could throw in my rice, which took about 20 minutes, and throw in my chicken in the Instapot, which coming up to heat or coming up to pressure, the pressurized cook of 10 minutes and 5 minutes natural release took about 25 minutes as well. So by looking at the recipe in advance and seeing how I needed to put things together to bring it all together so I had a nice hot meal at the end, just takes a little bit of perusing that recipe list. It also helps if you check twice before you seal the Instant Pot, before you throw it in the oven. Just make sure you added everything. And sometimes when you don't do that, it causes, let's just say, a different flavor experience than you might have been looking for. So there you go. There's 3 things how you could be a Boy Scout. Was the Boy Scout or the Cub Scout? Somebody was 3. I don't remember if the Boy Scouts are 3 and the Cub Scouts are 2 fingers. Whichever one was 3 fingers, that's what you want to remember. Figure out what you want to eat and what those macros are if that's important to you. Number 2, make sure you check that ingredient list a couple of times to make sure you have what you need. And number 3, really look at that recipe in the first few times you're doing it so that you know the order that things need to go in so that you're totally prepared. You have things ready to go into the pot and you're not waiting and ruining what's already been boiling or sauteing. Okay. So there you go. That's how you do great meal prep as a Boy Scout. You just find yourself being prepared.